I welcome to you all to this MCA thirds data modeling discussion. Currently, we are discussing on the big data analytics, the data modeling techniques under the NoSQL or NoSQL. In NRDBMS, today we are going to see what is the basics introductions of NoSQL databases, comparison of them, and some of the examples. What do we mean by the database sharding? What do we mean by the data modeling under the NoSQL databases, etc. For that purpose, let me share the video one PPT with you. So as discussed, we are currently undergoing the big data analytics subject, NoSQL databases. We have seen the what is the actual difference between the NRDBMS, RDBMS. Today we are going to see I assume PPT is visible to you and the voice is clear. If there is any problem, please let me know through the chat box. Till the point in this big data analytics subject, we have discussed many issues with respect to the SQL, NoSQL, and we are currently seeing what do we mean by the NoSQL databases and how they are being referenced or associated with the data modeling. Data modeling, as we have discussed and seen, it is nothing but how you are representing data, what do you mean by the database schema, how you are storing data, way to access or mechanism to access that data, that all comes under the data modeling techniques. We will move further. Now to begin with, that the RDBMS, under the RDBMS, as we all of us know that it's a 2D table, it's a tabular format wherein there is some rows and some columns. Columns have been attributed as field of that table, attributes of that particular entity, like here in the course is that course number, course name, unit for which, and the tuple means the number of records in that particular table. That is nothing but the relational database management technique system wherein we are imposing some of the constraints, mapping constraint like one to many, many to one and other. Now, what is actually the issue with the RDBMS? The basic issue with the RDBMS is the scalability. It issues scaling up when the data set is just too big. Means if suppose we are wish to store a voluminous data, as we are discussing in this big data subject, that's voluminous data is there. Some data types are different, means some of the data are unstructured, semi-structured, or even the data sources are been heterogeneous, means some data may be in a audio format, some data may be in a audio visual or visual only, or in a text format like a streaming data might be there. And to store all this data, voluminous data, there is some issues with the RDBMS or SQL databases scalability issue. Then it is not designed to be distributed. It is not designed to be distributed. Means though we are saying that the concurrency is there, but actually speaking, only one user is accessing that data or that table at a time. That is the not in a distributed way. Though we are saying that the concurrency is there. These are the ACID technique. In the next session, we are going to discuss that. That what we mean by the ACID, that's the atomicity, consistency, integrity, that techniques and base versus the base. Secondly, looking at the multi-node database solution means wherein the data sources are the different one. Multi-node means data sources are different one, known as horizontal scaling. There are some issues with the horizontal scaling also, and different approaches may include the master slave, as we are always you might have done the master table, and some of them are the transaction table. Transaction table always being like a weak entity, wherein the relationship is a weak entity. They represent the transaction table, and master are the big entities. And sharding, for to better know the sharding, we will in the further slide we will go and see one particular video that what we mean by the database sharding. For right now we will move further with the scalability issue. Now the scaling RDBMS, the first one, that's a master transaction or master slave. That's all rights are written to the master and all reads are performed from against the replicated slave database. That's one of the technique of scaling. Then propagated down, that can be one of the another technique. Then the sharding, for the sharding purpose we will see one video. Those who are coming late, please mark your attendance at the chat box. Let me stop this share and go back to the one of the video wherein we will discuss what we mean by the sharding, database sharding. I hope, is it visible? Video is visible to all of you? Please let me know through the chat box.
Detail with the help of a slide. So let's begin with today's video.
दोस्तों अब हम समझेंगे शार्डिंग को एक एग्जांपल के थ्रू, और आज का एग्जांपल है बर्गर शॉप के ऊपर। दोस्तों लेट्स सपोज मैंने अपनी एक बर्गर शॉप ओपन करी और इनिशियली मेरे पास जो कस्टमर्स थे वो थोड़े कम थे और जो उनकी रिक्वेस्ट आती थी वो इजीली मैनेजेबल थी।
This video is dedicated to the database sharding. It's in Hindi. It is being the some offbeat concept in there. I specifically kept the video or in the Hindi language so that you might understood that.
और उस बर्गर शॉप में काम करने वाली मैं सिर्फ एक अकेली एम्प्लॉय थी। तो दोस्तों अब हुआ क्या कि धीरे धीरे मेरे
Let me know the audio video clearance through the chat box, please.
कस्टमर्स रिक्वेस्ट जो हैं वो बढ़ने लगी और कस्टमर्स जो हैं वो डेली डेली इंक्रीज़ होने लगे। उसकी वजह से जो कस्टमर ऑर्डर्स हैं वो अकेले मेरे लिए यानी कि एक सिंगल एम्प्लॉय के लिए मैनेज करना डिफ़िकल्ट हो गया। तो मैंने क्या किया, मैंने 3 और एम्प्लॉयज़ हायर किए ताकि मैं सारे के सारे कस्टमर्स ऑर्डर्स और कस्टमर्स की रिक्वेस्ट को ईजीली एंड इफ़ेक्टिवली मैनेज कर सकूँ। दोस्तों अब यहाँ पर हमने कस्टमर रिक्वेस्ट कैसे हैंडल करी कि मैंने कस्टमर नंबर 0 to 99 की रिक्वेस्ट भेजी पर्सन P1 के पास, 100 to 199 कस्टमर नंबर की
Listen to the video so that you will get to know what do you mean by the sharding.
रिक्वेस्ट भेजी पर्सन P2 के पास एंड सो ऑन। दोस्तों यहाँ पर हुआ क्या कि मेरे पास बहुत सारे कस्टमर ऑर्डर्स थे और मैंने उनको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर दिया डिफरेंट एम्प्लॉयज़ के अमंग, सो दैट कि मेरी की सारी रिक्वेस्ट जो हैं वो इजीली हैंडल हो सके और जल्दी से जल्दी।
This is the horizontal partitioning wherein that particular order is being distributed among the number of employees sequentially, like from 0 to 99, then onwards 100 to 199, 200 to 299 and etc. That is the horizontal partitioning. Let's move further that how the sharding is done.
कि मैं अपने कस्टमर ऑर्डर्स डिलीवर कर सकूं। दोस्तों अब यहाँ पर हुआ क्या कि एक एम्प्लॉय बहुत सारी रिक्वेस्ट को हैंडल नहीं कर सकता था, इसलिए हमने बहुत सारे और एम्प्लॉयज़ को हायर किया और उनके बीच में हमने कस्टमर ऑर्डर्स को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया बाय यूजिंग दी कस्टमर नंबर। और इस तरीके की पार्टिशनिंग को हम कहते हैं हॉरिजॉन्टल पार्टिशनिंग, जहाँ पर किसी की के बेसिस पे डेटा पार्टिशन किया जाता है। यहाँ पर उस की का रोल प्ले किया है कस्टमर नंबर ने। और एक चीज़ जो यहाँ पर पर्सन्स हैं यानी कि जो एम्प्लॉयज़ हमने और हायर करे थे, हॉरिजॉन्टल पार्टिशनिंग में वो रोल प्ले करते हैं एज ऑफ डेटाबेस सर्वर्स, यानी कि जितने भी कस्टमर्स रिक्वेस्ट आती हैं वो हर एक डेटाबेस सर्वर हैंडल करता है और हर एक डेटाबेस सर्वर के अंदर की के बेसिस पे डेटा पार्टिशन होता है। दोस्तों जो डेटा डिस्ट्रीब्यूट या पार्टीशन किया जाता है वो होता है ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ एनी एट्रीब्यूट जो आपके डेटाबेस में ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट होता है। एक और चीज़ जो जानने वाली है वो ये है कि जब आपका डेटा डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हो जाता है तो जो आपके डिफरेंट पार्टीशंस क्रिएट होते हैं उनको हम बोलते हैं लॉजिकल चार्ट्स। और यहाँ पर होता क्या है कि आपके टेबल के कॉलम्स सेम रहते हैं यानी कि आपका स्कीमा सेम रहता है, लेकिन आपकी रोज़ हर एक शार्ड में डिफरेंट होती हैं। तो आइए इसको जानते हैं एक प्रैक्टिकल एग्जाम्पल के थ्रू।
That is how the database sharding is done. It's just the horizontal partitioning of the number of records. Though the schema is same, but the number of tuples or records will be different. That is a horizontal partitioning, and that is nothing but the database sharding.
दोस्तों अब मेरे पास है एक एम्प्लॉय टेबल और हम इसके 3 डिफरेंट शार्ड्स क्रिएट करना चाहते हैं। यहाँ पर जो शार्डिंग होगी वो होगी ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट नंबर।
Sharding is always done on the particular attribute based on some particular attribute. Like in previous case, it was the suppose the order number or order number. In this case, we are doing on the department.
यानी कि जो की या फिर एट्रीब्यूट होगा जिसके बेसिस पे हम डेटा पार्टीशन करेंगे वो होगा डिपार्टमेंट नंबर। दोस्तों अब होगा क्या कि 3 लॉजिकल चार्ट्स क्रिएट होंगे। पहला होगा कि जिसमें सारे के सारे वो टपल्स होंगे जहाँ पे आपका डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 4 है। टपल्स मतलब कि आप सभी जानते होंगे रिलेशनल डीबीएमएस में टपल्स का मतलब होता है रोज़। उसके बाद जो दूसरा चार्ट क्रिएट होगा उसके अंदर सारे के सारे वो टपल्स होंगे या रोज़ होंगी जहाँ पे आपका डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 5 होगा। और आपका थर्ड चार्ट जो क्रिएट होगा वो होगा डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 1 के लिए, यानी कि वहाँ सारे के सारे वो टपल्स होंगे जहाँ डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 1 है। सो दोस्तों अब यहाँ पर होगा क्या कि कोई भी यूज़र रिक्वेस्ट अगर आएगी और वो अगर डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 4 से कंसर्न होगी तो वो जाएगी सबसे पहले शार्ट में जहाँ पे डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 4 का शार्ट क्रिएटेड है। और अगर कोई क्वेरी आती है जो डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 5 से कंसर्न होगी तो वो जाएगी आपके सेकेंड शार्ट में जहाँ पे डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 5 का एक शार्ट क्रिएटेड है। तो हमेशा कोई भी क्वेरी जो पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट से रिलेटेड होगी वो उसी शार्ट पे मैप होगी बार बार। ये चीज़ आप बिल्कुल ध्यान में रखें। सो दोस्तों
Means query are going to be mapped as per the requirement, as per the attribute on which sharding is done, as discussed uh, in the video, that particular department number is one of the attribute on which sharding is done, and query will be mapped
तो दो
accordingly.
और कंसर्न जो आते हैं शार्टिंग के अंदर वो है कंसिस्टेंसी एज वेल एज अवेलेबिलिटी। तो दोस्तों मैंने ऑलरेडी अपनी प्रीवियस वीडियो में अवेलेबिलिटी के ऊपर बात करी है। अगर आपने वो वीडियो नहीं देखी तो आप प्लीज़ मेरी प्लेलिस्ट में जाकर देख सकते हैं। और आइए दोस्तों अब हम डिस्कस
This video is been uploaded in our Google Classroom.
करते हैं इसके एडवांटेजेस एंड डिसएडवांटेजेस के बारे में। सो दोस्तों अब जो इसके एडवांटेजेस हैं वो ये हैं कि सबसे पहले तो हॉरिजॉन्टल पार्टीशनिंग के थ्रू हॉरिजॉन्टल स्केलिंग बहुत ईजी हो जाती है। मैं ऑल
Scaling out is one of the advantage of database sharding. It speed up the query response times because number of tuples have been divided into the number of shards. That's the number of database servers, and availability and reliability can be
ऑलरेडी
maintained.
एक प्रीवियस वीडियो में हॉरिजॉन्टल स्केलिंग की बात कर चुकी हूँ तो आप वो वीडियो जाकर देख सकते हैं। उसके बाद आपकी जो एक शार्ट के अंदर डेटा होगा वो लिमिटेड होगा तो ऑब्वियसली आप डेटा इजीली मैनेज कर सकते हैं। अवेलेबिलिटी ज़्यादा होगी, रिलायबिलिटी भी ज़्यादा होगी। आपकी परफॉर्मेंस जो होगी एक पर्टिकुलर शार्ट की वो बहुत अच्छी होगी एंड एक्सपेंशन बहुत ईजी होगा।
Now, what are the disadvantages? Like avoidance of the cross-shard joins, shard allocation imbalance, exhaustion of that shard, and schema changes can become extremely
और अब अगर मैं
expensive.
इसके डिसएडवांटेजेस की बात करूं फ्रेंड्स तो सबसे पहले आता है अवॉइडेंस ऑफ क्रॉस शार्ट जॉइंट्स। सो दोस्तों अब होगा क्या कि अगर हम इनर जॉइंट्स लगाने की कोशिश करेंगे तो ऑब्वियसली आपके शार्ड्स जो हैं वो एक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड एनवायरनमेंट में हैं ओवर अ सर्टेन नेटवर्क। तो होगा क्या कि आपकी जो जॉइन क्वेरी है वो दोनों के दोनों शार्ड्स में जाएगी एंड वहाँ से डेटा पुल होगा और नेटवर्क के अक्रॉस इनर जॉइंट्स लगा के डेटा फेच करना बहुत एक्सपेंसिव होता है। इसलिए एक नो एसक्यूएल सिस्टम में या फिर बिग डेटा सिस्टम के अंदर जॉइंट्स को अवॉइड किया जाता है।
That there comes the requirement of the NoSQL, why joins have been avoided under the NoSQL databases.
शार्ड एलोकेशन इम्बैलेंस का मतलब है फ्रेंड्स कि हो सकता है कि आपके डिफरेंट शार्ड्स में आपका डेटा इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड ना
That we have seen that the department number 1 is the only one tuple was there, and for the department number 5 there were 4 or 5 tuples. That's a imbalance.
हो। यानी कि जैसा कि हमारे एग्जाम्पल में था कि एक एम्प्लॉय टेबल में डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 5 में काम करने वाले बहुत सारे एम्प्लॉयज़ हैं लेकिन डिपार्टमेंट नंबर 1 में काम करने वाला सिर्फ एक अकेला एम्प्लॉय है। तो हो सकता है कि आपके डेटा जो है शार्ट्स के बीच में इवनली डिस्ट्रीब्यूट ना हो। सो दोस्तों थर्ड डिसएडवांटेज जो आती है वो आती है शार्ड एग्जॉशन की। शार्ड एग्जॉशन का मतलब होता है कि आपका हर एक शार्ड जो होता है वो लिमिटेड कैपेसिटी का होता है और एक पर्टिकुलर शार्ड पे ही अगर आप डेटा राइट करते जाएंगे तो हो सकता है कि आपके एक शार्ड की डेटा कैपेसिटी एक्सीड हो जाए और उसके बाद उस शार्ड पे आप और डेटा ना राइट कर पाएँ। लास्ट डिसएडवांटेज जो है दोस्तों वो है डेटाबेस स्कीमा चेंजेस। यानी कि अगर आप अपने डेटाबेस स्कीमा के अंदर कोई भी चेंजेस करते हैं तो अक्रॉस मल्टीपल शार्ड्स यानी कि जितने भी शार्ड्स आपने क्रिएट करे हों
Obviously, if you are doing schema change to the particular shard, we have to do it for the other shards also.
नेटवर्क। दोस्तों अब हम बात करते हैं अपने लास्ट फीचर के बारे में जो कि है हाई स्पीड डेटा एक्सेस इन नो एसक्यूएल सिस्टम। तो दोस्तों आप जैसे कि जानते ही होंगे
We
नो
will
एसक्यूएल सिस्टम्स या
discuss
बिग डेटा
this in
सिस्टम्स के
the
अंदर
next
आपके
part.
पास
Let me
मिलियंस एंड
stop
बिलियंस
this
ऑफ रिकॉर्ड
share. Okay, we will go back to our presentation. I hope presentation is visible to you. If it's not visible, please let me know through the chat box. Yes, that is a scaling of data with RDBMS we were discussing, master slave and sharding. We will move further. Now, what do you mean by the NoSQL? We have discussed it. That's a not only SQL or NoSQL. That's a point, and it's a what? Okay. A class of non-relational data storage. It is not a particularly RDBMS wherein we are following the ACID properties. ACID properties determine the atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. That's the ACID property. We are not following 100% under the NoSQL or NRDBMS database systems, and that will be using the CAP theorem. We will see the CAP theorem in the next point, and it will not require. NoSQL will not have any fixed table schema. As like in RDBMS, we are following the tabular structure, means the number of tuples, sorry, number of fields are same, number of even the fields characteristics are same, means if suppose on a particular field we are having the not null concept, then for all record it should be present. It not will be the case that for some of the record it will be not null, and for some of the record that particular not null can be relaxed. It is not possible in the RDBMS, whereas it might be possible in the NoSQL. That is the one of the characteristics. Now these are the RDBMS SQL. We have seen this many times. That's a DBase, then the PostgreSQL, MySQL, Server SQL, SQL Server, Oracle. These are the some of the examples. NoSQL examples are the Neo4j, MongoDB, Flock, Redis. We are going to see this in a detail. ScouchDB, Cassandra. These are the examples of the NoSQL or NRDBMS, non-relational database system. Now, what do we mean by the SQL versus NoSQL? I have been posting some of the videos, study material as a pre-reads for you students previously to the any of the session at our Google Classroom. Even I have been actively using our WhatsApp group. It's a kind request to you all that you please visit to the Google Classroom regularly and comply to that particular that see how which are the requirements, how many postings are there, and go through all that academic material for the benefit. Now, what are the pros of SQLs? Pros of SQL means it's a structured data, transactional, high performance workload are good at the relational database systems. Whereas cons means the negative points, it says the fixed schema for organizing data. We cannot have the flexible schema. Data is used for daily transaction, difficult to scale. Okay, if data is used, then daily transactions are difficult to scale up or scale out. Examples are like Oracle and etc. Pros of the NoSQL are the database management system useful when working with the huge quantity of data, big data. अगर हम काम कर रहे हैं, then obviously NoSQL will be the more useful. We have seen the various V's of data. That's a velocity, volume, veracity. These V's we have discussed, and that's a volume. If the voluminous data is there, then NoSQL is always useful. Cons, what are the negative point? Management tools and installation are still maturing. Means there is no six particular that how to manage a NoSQL database. Then millions of users are doing updates at a time consistently and in a real time, so that number of reads in contrast to the traditional DBMS will be the higher. Okay, means we have to manage all that, and the examples as we have seen, CouchDB, MongoDB, Cassandra, etc. Now, characteristics of the NoSQL database, all clients see the current data regardless of the update or deletes, whatever the current at a time. Given a movement, whatever the current data set is there, that will be accessed or that will be available to the all clients, irrespective of what is actually being done, means what is actually being updated and what is being deleted. Okay, that is a consistency point. Then the availability. The system continues to operate as expected even with the node failure. We have seen the scale out and scale up techniques in previous videos and previous sessions. We have seen that how to make your data available on 24/7 basis or in a real time basis. Okay, that is the availability point. Then the partition tolerance, the system continues to operate as expected despite network or message failure. If though the network is failure, means you can take an example of Gmail. Okay, if suppose network is failed, then also your Gmail is working. If suppose like our mobile, you might have seen on your devices, mobile device, that if suppose you are not connected to your internet connection, your mobile data or Wi-Fi is deactivated, then also your Gmail is working. That is a partitional tolerance concept. These are some of the characteristics of the NoSQL databases. Then why there is a need of NoSQL DB? With the, you can say, the giganeous explosion of the social media sites, like many social media sites are coming up from last 5 to 10 years, like Facebook, Twitter, Google, Instagram, and other Facebook like WhatsApp and Telegram, with large data needs, that sharding is a problem for them. What we have discussed, the database sharding, it is being majorly done in the RDBMS database systems. Okay, it is not native set or natively been done as actively under the NoSQL. That's why sharding is a problem with such a social media sites, and that's why there is a need of the NoSQL. Then the rise of cloud-based solutions such as the Amazon S3 that requires the need of NoSQL. Cloud computing does require the NoSQL database systems. Then just as moving to the dynamically timed languages like Ruby or Groovy, these are the, you can say, the dynamically typed languages. There is no fixed syntax as such. A shift to the dynamically typed data with frequent schema changes is required, and that's why there is a need of NoSQL. Expansion of open source community is there from last 5 to 10 years, and they do require the NoSQL database system, and such NoSQL solutions are more acceptable to the client now than a year ago. If we are going 5 to 7 years ago, nowadays there were the time that there were the cases of the database system that the backend should be in Oracle or backend should be in a MS SQL likes, or server backend should be there. But nowadays even clients are preferring to have the NoSQL solutions because they are cheaply available and it is under the open source community. We'll move further. These are the some of the types or major types of the NoSQL databases: key value pair base, then the column base, document base, and graph base. We will see one by them, one by one in detail. Okay, this is a key value pair base. It is designed for processing the dictionary like solution. Dictionaries contain a collection of record having the field containing data. Many of us have access the English dictionary as like in an English dictionary that is on the, you can say, the sequential basis. If suppose the ABCD is a sequence, alphabetic sequence, then for the first letter of that word, given a word, the first letter is checked. If suppose it is a C, then again in the sequence of C from A to Z it is checked for the second letter. If suppose the second letter is suppose the A, then again in the A to Z is checked for the third letter. That's way it's a dictionary or key value based pairing. Records are stored and retrieved using the key that are uniquely identifies the record and is used quickly to find the database within the data within the databases. Like suppose given a diagram, customer and billing address are there, orders are there, order can have the shipping address, then the order payment or order and that product will be there. That all will be in a data in a databases. The examples of the key value pair base are the CouchDB, Oracle, NoSQL, and React, etc. We use it for the storing of session information, user profiles, preferences, shopping cart data. Many of the shopping portals, websites are using key value pair database, and we would avoid it when we will not use it. We will avoid it when we need to query data having the relationship between the entities. Okay, if there are internal joint, then we will not use or we will not preferably use the key value pair. We will move to the next type. I have been putting study material on the Google Classroom and as a PDF also. Details have been given. This is a presentation. We cannot discuss the major details in such a contact sessions, which is too virtual or online. So I again humbly request you to please visit to the Google Classroom, download all the study material and go through at least twice and thrice, read them out, point out or make your own notes out of that. The second type is a column based. It stores data as a column families containing rows that have the many columns associated with the row key. Each row can have the different columns like the column family. Given a row, number of columns or given a column, number of rows can be there. Given a column, number of rows can be there. Okay. And column family are the groups of related data that is accessed together. Examples of column base are the Cassandra, HBase, Amazon DynamoDB. These are the examples of the column base we use for the content management system. Column base is majorly used for the content management, blogging platform, and log aggregation, and it is avoided when it is avoided for the system that are in the early development or changing query patterns. If the very volatile data is there, queries have been recently been or it's in very early stage or changing queries are there, then we will avoid the column-based database under the NoSQL. Third type, that's a document-based. Document database stores and retrieve the documents. It stores the document in a value part of the key value means a whole document is stored. It is the self-describing hierarchical free data structure consisting of maps, collections and scalar values means you can store any type of data in a document base. Document base means what? Number of documents can be stored as it is. Okay, number of files can be stored as it is. Okay, that are the mean by the document base. Examples are the Lotus Notes. If you have seen the Lotus Notes software, MongoDB, CouchDB, RavenDB, these are some of the document based NoSQL examples. It is being used for the content management widely, blogging platform, web analytics and real-time analytics, and majorly for the e-commerce applications. And it is avoided when the system that needs avoided for the systems that need the complex transactions spanning multiple operations and queries again the varying aggregate structure. Obviously, if suppose the aggregate structure is always varying, it's not a fixed one, it's a flexible or you can say the dynamic one. You cannot store the data using the document based NoSQL database system. If suppose the data is in a form of graphical format, then we ought to use the graph-based NoSQL DB. It stores the entities and relationship as a nodes and edges of graph represent respectively. Entities have the properties. These are the means. If suppose you can use that graph in a distributed way also. Some of the examples are the Neo4j, Infinite Graph, Orient and FlockDB. It is well suited for the connected data wherein like today's social network are there, spatial data, routing information for goods and supply chain management system. It's been heavily used, the graph-based NoSQL DB. Now, what do we mean by the CAP theorem? The CAP theorem is introduced by one of the computer scientists, Eric Brewer, in the 1990s, for particularly for the distributed system. It based on the three major properties of the database or data itself. That's the consistency of that data. C, availability of that data. A, and partitions of that data. P. That's a CAP theorem, CAP. Means what Brewer have proved or proposed the theorem that we can have at most two of these three properties, consistency, availability, and partition, for any shared data system. As it's a distributed system, means for any shared data system, you can have the true of any two of these given three properties. Means either data can be consistent. If the suppose the data is consistent and available, then it cannot be partitioned. If suppose the data is consistent and partitioned, then it will not be available. Third property will be false. And if suppose the data is available and partitioned, then it will not be consistent. Okay, that is a basic cap theorem. It is very simple. If the consistency and availability is there, partition cannot be possible. If the availability and partitions are there, then consistency will not be there. If the suppose the consistency and partitions are there, then data will not be available. These are the basic techniques behind the cap or Brewer theorem. It is introduced by the Eric Brewer. To scale out, we have to partition. It leaves the choice between the consistency and availability. In almost all the cases, we would choose the availability over the consistency. Everyone who builds the big application builds them on the cap. Okay, means the big players like Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Amazon, eBay, these are the some of the web portals. They are always using cap theorem in their development process. Now, what are the advantages of NoSQL? It's always, as discussed, it's cheap and easy to implement, being the open source. Data are replicated to the multiple node, that's therefore the identical and fault tolerant and can be partitioned. It is very easy to distribute and it don't require a fixed schema. These are the some of the advantages of NoSQL. Then what is not provided by the NoSQL? Means what is not under the domain of NoSQL. We cannot have the joins, we cannot have the group by queries, we cannot have the send percent acid transaction. We have discussed, we have seen what we mean by the acid. That's atomicity. We will go somewhat in the previous slide, atomicity. Yes, these are the acid properties: atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. We cannot guarantee that these acid properties 100% under the NoSQL. You might have some of them, but you will not have the 100% of acid properties. Then we will not have the structured query language for the access mechanism. There will be the MongoDB or Hadoop like some particular or R programming or Python like techniques will be there. Then integration with the application that are based on the SQL will not be available or that is not be possible. We'll move further. Now, where to use the then NoSQL? We have seen what we mean by the NoSQL, types of NoSQL, what are the advantages or pros and cons of the NoSQL. Now, where to use that NoSQL? The NoSQL is basically used for the log analysis, social networking feeds, time-based data management or analysis, and it is under the unstructured or semi-structured way. For that particular very large semi-structured or unstructured data, we have to use the NoSQL. It is been used to improve the programmer's productivity, and it is being used to improve the data access performance also by improving the throughput and reducing the latency and for via the some combination of handling larger data volumes. These are some of the NoSQL databases, classification of them: key value store, Radix and React, document database, MongoDB and CouchDB are the example. Under the graph database, Neo4j, FlogDB. Wide column data or column base are the HBase, Cassandra, Amazon DynamoDB, and Google Bigtable. We will see the one video based on this particular NoSQL technique. Let me stop this share. Go back to the video again. There is one video wherein we can understood more easily what do we mean by the NoSQL. Let me open the video first. Okay. The remaining comparison of the NoSQL we will take in the next session. Before that, we will go through the video first. That's a NoSQL 2.
पाएंगे नॉन रिलेशनल क्या होता है। तो मेरी कोशिश होगी कि आज आपको समझा सकूं नॉन रिलेशनल क्या होता है। उसकी एक प्राइमरी आईडी होती थी और